Welcome back to the channel. For a while now I've been thinking about going off grid. Nothing major, I don't want solar panels on the roof of my house, but just maybe something if we do get a break in the power, especially in the winter. So I was thinking about heating. I did think about getting a Calogas or a propane heater, but propane is really expensive here in the UK. A much cheaper option is a diesel heater. Now these have come down dramatically in recent years, especially if you import one from China. So that's what I did. I got onto Banggood and we've got this diesel heater in, which we'll be testing in a while. Diesel heaters have been around for ages. You normally find them in outdoor vehicles such as camper vans or RVs, caravans or trailers, and even in these little glamping little pod caravans that have become quite popular. But there's no reason why you can't use them as a standalone unit. In an emergency you can put them outside and just funnel the hot air into your house. This was the unit that I got in from Banggood in China. Now as this was pretty cheap, I didn't know quite what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised when I got this out of the box. It's mostly made of metal and the combustion chamber certainly looks like a serious piece of kit. Also has a digital control panel which is removable, comes with a remote control key fob as well, and you can control it by a smart app on your phone. It's small, lightweight and compact, but does have a full 8 kilowatt output, has a 5 litre fuel tank and a very nice easy to read scale on the side. It's also very economical. On its lowest setting it only uses 120 millilitres of fuel per hour, so with a full 5 litre tank it will run for almost 11 hours. It's quite light as well, mostly made out of aluminium, so it's certainly very portable. You possibly could get away with taking this camping. Let's take a look at the accessories we get in the box. So this is the heat output tube. It's concertinaed, so this will stretch to a great length to allow you to fit the vent where you want. Then we have an air input tube. I wasn't all that impressed with this. It was almost like a tin foil. It felt quite fragile, so you've got to be careful with that. Then we have the exhaust tube. This is a much better quality. Again, this is bendable. And then finally we have an exhaust silencer, which comes with a solid fixing kit if you were going to permanently fix the heater. Next out of the box is this L-shaped very solid pipe. This is the exhaust manifold. I'll show you fitting that in a moment. Then we have a air filter. Well, say an air filter, there's no foam cartridge inside. It's just to stop rain getting into the pipe. This is the outlet pipe for your heat pipe. If you were permanently going to fit this, you would screw this into the wall of your RV or caravan. Then we get a bag of fixing accessories. A bit of a mixed bag here. Some of these were quite cheap. I wasn't that happy with the Jubilee clips. I would upgrade those. I'll show you those in a moment being fixed, but generally you do get a good supply of bolts and fixings. Electrical connections next. This is the 12 or 24 volt connector if you're going to permanently mount the heater. No inline fuse, and you do need about 15 amps for the startup procedure. After that it runs on about 2 amps. Then we have an extension lead here for the control panel. I'll show you this in a moment. I was quite impressed at how long that was. And then finally we have an electrical PSU power supply unit. This is supplied with the heater. This is the UK version. About 12 amps if you're going to use your own one. Again, it's only for the startup procedure. It runs on about 2 or 3 amps after that. But yeah, no problem with this at all. There's a small bit of setting up to do, so I'll show you that. First thing is to fix the 4 L-shaped metal feet. These can be used as just as freestanding feet, or they do have a slot in them so you can screw these to the floor if you're going to permanently mount this heater. Then you can go ahead and fit the exhaust outlet pipe. It is quite a loose fit, so I think if I was fitting this permanently I would use a little bit of exhaust compound sealing paste that you'd use on a car, just to make sure there was no chance of any leakages. Very simple, just nut and bolt work here. Next to it you see this other pipe. This is where you would fit the inlet pipe if you're doing a permanent installation. I'm going to say that it's a little bit tight once you've got the exhaust outlet on. to get to that Jubilee clip, you're going to have to use a spanner and not a screwdriver. Next thing is the exhaust pipe and silencer itself. Now this is where I used those supplied Jubilee clips. Wasn't very happy with these. They felt quite flimsy, to be honest, so I think if I was fitting this permanently, I would upgrade these to a better, superior clip. One cool feature is that they provide you with a 1.5 meter long extension cable, which allows you to remove the control unit from the heater and then put it wherever you want, in your workshop or your caravan, or for me, as I'm using this as an emergency heater, it means I can leave the heater outside. Now it is important because the control unit contains the thermosensor for the thermostat, so wherever you put the control unit, that's where it will measure the temperature. Very easy to do, as you can see, just simply unscrew. And I was quite impressed with this because it's 1.5 meters, but you do get an extra cable on the control unit and the unit itself, so it's almost 2 meters in length, so it's very versatile for mounting. It's now time to add some fuel. Now for this demonstration, and the fact that I'm only ever going to use this in an emergency situation, I'm going to use kerosene. Kerosene is a more refined fuel than diesel. It will burn without any fumes and it won't produce any soot. The diesel that you buy at the supermarket is a bit hit or miss depending on the quality. The lower quality will produce more soot and more fumes. However, if you're going to run this heater all the time, such as in the winter, you will need to add some diesel into the mix for lubrication purposes. I did a bit of research and I find that people tend to use about 50-50 mix on kerosene and diesel. When it comes to operating the heater, well, you've got 3 options. First is the control panel. Then you can use the much simpler remote control, a bit like a car key fob. And then finally, you have the option to download an app on your phone and connect via Bluetooth. Now, as this is an intelligent heater with many different functions and features, I think personally that's the way to go. It's just the easiest way to access all of the functionality of the heater. Also, if you use the phone app, you can see live what is happening with the heater, and I think this is quite important on the startup and also the cool down cycles. The heater starts fairly quickly. It only takes about 3 minutes for it to get up to temperature, but there are quite a few clicks whilst it goes through the ignition process, and it can be a little bit noisy until it settles down. I'll shut up now and let you hear this process in action. So you can hear once it heats up, it runs fairly quietly. Now the phone app is highly intelligent. It has a high altitude mode. Now if you look on the app, you'll see that I'm at 81 meters above sea level, so we run this in normal mode, but there are 2 additional settings, one at 2,500 and one at 5,000 meters. When you select these, the heater will automatically adjust the air-fuel ratio mix so that you don't get any additional soot. There are 2 ways of controlling the heat output. You can either use the app on your mobile phone or the control panel itself. The first way is fairly simple. It's just a heat level control, and the heater will output at the required level. The second way is a thermostat. You set the temperature, and just like your central heating system at home, the heater will come on and come off to maintain that temperature. You can also change the readout in Celsius or Fahrenheit, whichever you prefer. Finally, there is a timer app where you can set the heater to come on and switch off at certain times of the day, and you can schedule this throughout the week, very much like a home central heating system. I think the biggest shock to me was just how much heat this heater can put out. It only takes 3 minutes to warm up, and by that stage you're having trouble to hold your hand in front of the nozzle on the higher settings. It's quite remarkable the amount of heat this thing will kick out. The timer function is definitely quite useful. I'm thinking if you live in a caravan or an RV or something, you just set this to come on half an hour before you come home from work in the winter, and then you walk into a nice warm home. It also has a frost protection, so basically if you leave your RV over the winter and you're not there, you can set it so as soon as the temperature gets very low, close to freezing, it will just switch on and boost up the temperature to say 5 degrees Celsius or something to stop everything from freezing up. So very clever device. Now obviously I've just bought this for an emergency unit, just in case in the winter all the power goes off and we're off grid. I can use this with my power pack, which is 12 volts, and at least I know I've got some heating. So I think that's it. I think that's the end of the video. This came in from Banggood. I'll try and get a discount code. I normally do, they're very good to me. So if you're interested in looking into this further, and the link is in the description, just make sure that you do use my discount code, and that will save you a few pounds or dollars at the checkout. So that's it, that's the end of the video. I hope it was interesting. It's something a little bit different, never had one of these before, and I'm sure if I can operate it, you can. So there's a thumbs up from me for your view time. I do appreciate you dropping by. If you could just return that thumbs up down below before you go, I'd really like to see that. It only takes a second and that helps me out. But as for now, as always, please look after each other, stay safe, catch you on the next one. Cheers guys.
Fred's in the shed where the magic unfolds. Fred in the shed with his trusty CB. He's a friend to the lonely on a frequency.